Which enemies could they add to make the biggest improvement to the gameplay loop? All right, so pictured here we have Tyranids. These Tyranid guards, I really like these guys. I just looked them up in Tacticus, and apparently what happens with these guys is they should be guarding the Hive Tyrant. I think it'd be kind of cool if we had like a Hive Tyrant 2.0 essentially, maybe in a different operation or maybe in siege mode, where they come actually with the guards that they should be coming with, I think. I'm not 100% sure if that's like 100% lore accurate, but I recognize these guys from Tacticus. I looked them up, and apparently these guys should be guarding the Hive Tyrant. So having a fight like this would be cool. Ultimately, they do look pretty tanky. I would like to see a Tyranid that's a little bit more aggressive. I mean, we're running into a lot of majorist Tyranids that are backpedaling and just using their weapons and stuff. I think that's fine, but like, you know, they do still throw their claws once in a while. But having like a super tanky, melee only Tyranid that's not like, you know, running away like Raveners or Lictors, that would be pretty cool. Something like the Carnifex, I guess, but maybe a little bit small scale. But also I like the gargoyles here, the Tyranid gargoyles, I'm pretty sure they're called. I also have some, you know, I have a Tyranid deck actually for Magic the Gathering, and yeah, they definitely come with gargoyles. There's actually a few Tyranids in there that I thought would be pretty cool if they added. But ultimately, I think a flying Tyranid boss would be kind of cool, like a tyrant in the sky or something. But okay, so these are chaos. I'm not too sure. I think the only chaos here that we don't have in the game right now is this guy with the giant sword. I have to admit, that does look pretty sick. That does look pretty sick. Dude, we need a new Chaos Terminus. 100%. I think this would be kind of... He does kind of look like a Terminus, but he does kind of look similar to a Hellbrute, I guess, as far as what the movesets would be. But yeah, ultimately, the Chaos does look cool, but they look very hard to paint. But okay, let's continue the post. Just looking at the two new combat patrols, I think Gene Stealers would make a perfect new Majoris. Was playing lower difficulties with a friend recently and noticed Gaunts and Warriors make up 90% of the army. Oh, wow. Would be cool if they added the same time Darktide adds Gene Stealer Cult if the rumors are to be true. Oh, that's... Dude, does Darktide have any sort of Tyranids? I know sometimes there's like humanoid Tyranids. At least I'm not 100% sure on that. But there was definitely one of the, you know, Tyranid cards I was talking about earlier. There was definitely some sort of humanoid Tyranid on like a motorcycle or something. But yeah, there was definitely Gene Stealers as well. I saw those. Those are okay. So these guys right here with the hands, those are Gene Stealers, right? Dude, it's kind of funny, like, their unique properties that they just have, like, functioning hands. Like, I can kind of see where they would be stealing something. That kind of makes sense. Fortunately, Thousand Suns have those 3 major demons coming, which I think are going to do wonders for the gameplay experience. However, fighting 3 Hellbrutes in Horde mode is getting old, so I think a new Terminus is desperately needed, and maybe something like the Demon Prince could fill that void. Yeah, we 100% need a new Chaos Terminus. Now, as far as the which enemies they could add to make the biggest improvement to the gameplay loop, I think ultimately having something that could replace Biovores. No, I'm kidding. But yes, for Chaos, we need a new Terminus. 100%, we need a new Terminus for Chaos. I think Tyranids are fine. I just wish we... Like, dude, there's so many Tyranid majors that I'm noticing are just, like, ready to backpedal and just use their weapons. Like, we don't really see too many majorists with bone swords, even though if you do find a bone sword Tyranid, it's probably surrounded by 5 other bone swords. But yeah, I'd rather fight bone swords any day. So sometimes I think something like the guards, the Tyranic guards here would be pretty cool. But yeah, ultimately Gene Stealers, I feel like, dude, these look so, like, I don't know, they look annoying, don't they? I don't know what it is about these Gene Stealer Tyranids, but I feel like they would be pretty annoying. But then a flying Tyranid boss, I think, would be cool. But like, as far as the actual gameplay loop, I think ultimately adding something to replace Hellbrutes is probably more important than adding a new Tyranid enemy. I was just thinking about that today. I was just in an operation, and like it was Ruthless Operation, so we had like 1 Biovore spawn in, and we just like immediately surrounded it and took it out. But I was like walking away, I was like, wow, we really do have a fair amount of like interesting enemies for Tyranids. And then Chaos, it's just like the Sorcerer and Terminators, they're kind of like the coolest thing the Chaos have going for them. Helpers are okay, but sometimes they can get a little bit stale, I think. But fighting 3 of them, it's hard to get stale when you're fighting 3 Helpers. But yeah, they're also very, very annoying. I would like to see something, yeah, 100% if they added something for Chaos Terminus. I just don't know anything off the top of my head. So let's go in the comments to see if anyone has any good ideas for that. The new Chaos enemies that have been found in the files are probably coming in 10.0, since 9.0 is said to be mainly balancing updates, and I hope there's also very good performance updates as well. I'm pretty sure we're going to get an 8.2, I would think. I mean, we just had a fair amount of maintenance. I'm not 100% sure. As far as like a side conversation here about connection, let me know if the maintenance helped you out connection-wise. I have noticed a lot of people commenting that even on videos that really isn't about that, but ultimately I'm still pretty ultimately I'm still pretty curious if you guys are, you know, have improved connections for maintenance. But okay, let's continue. They're not demons, by the way. They're just regular Chaos spawn. I think Chaos could also do with actual Zench demons, pink horrors, blue horrors, brimstone horrors, basically Zench version of Bloodletters or Demonites or Poxwalkers. So I am actually kind of familiar with Bloodletters, I think. I've seen, again, like, a fair amount of what I know as far as outside of, like, Space Marines for 40Ks definitely came from the Magic cards. So, yeah, there's a demon called Bloodthirster, which is, I'm pretty sure is a demon, like an actual, like, So, the actual Zench demons. But that is pretty interesting. Yeah, the Chaos spawn is going to be, yeah, the new Chaos enemy for Chaos, which honestly should also improve the gameplay for Chaos, because we're going to have a major, deal a lot of melee damage, and be very active in melee. So I think overall that's definitely something Chaos needs. But yeah, it is pretty funny. Like when it comes to like pink horrors, blue horrors, I've seen those things. They look goofy. I'm not 100% sure if I'm like into that, but I do see why people like them. They definitely stand out. But yeah, as far as like the actual Zench demons, I'm not too sure if we're gonna see anything like that. But still, I was kind of familiar with Bloodletters. I'm pretty sure they're just, you know, they're very demon-like. Pretty sure they have swords or something. Again, I think I've seen some 40K cards about that. But yeah, overall, I'm definitely pretty happy that we're getting a Chaos spawn for the game at all. But it is kind of unfortunate it comes in 2 patches. Yeah, so patch 10, we're going to be talking about patch 10 because I feel like there's going to be a lot of anticipation for that patch. But yeah, mainly, I'm really hoping the next patch has some good connection. You know, any sort of connection updates or sort of performance fixes, that would be great. But also, again, let me know in the comments if connections improved for you since maintenance. Gargoyles would love to have a horde of flying gaunts come at us. I think that would be kind of cool. I was thinking the same thing though. Like they would essentially replace gaunts in a sense, and I mean, I think mixing up the gaunts is a good idea. I mean, especially for gargoyles. I think gargoyles are kind of sick. When it comes to Tyranids, I think that's a pretty cool archetype that they have going on there, just flying gaunts. But I can imagine they would also be like, you know, kind of a pest. As far as I've been playing a lot of Thunderhammer, and yeah, gaunts are super annoying in that sense, where the gaunts can seriously just build up a whole bunch of chip damage, and sometimes they react quicker than you're able to throw the Thunderhammer. So ultimately, you kind of like play passively, and it's like a whole thing. I'm pretty sure when it comes to the Thunderhammer, gaunts are like the worst matchup for it. But yeah, for gargoyles, I mean, in that sense, what are you gonna swing at like the air trying to hit gargoyles with the Thunderhammer? But I can also, I imagine they would be kind of like dive bombing you and stuff like that. That would be interesting. It would probably be lesser numbers. I think yeah, that's fine. I think when it comes to Tyranids are actually already doing pretty good as far as the gameplay loop, but I think the added benefit of just having something unique for Tyranids around every corner is something that is 100% going to be, you know, functionally better to play around. When it comes to Tyranids, it's kind of cool with Tyranids. You just don't know what you're going to get. But like they're still pretty aggressive, and there's still some pretty good melee reactions you can get from them. But like, yeah, for Chaos, all we have is like, you know, basically disc shamans. Those are probably the most melee heavy Chaos. I mean, obviously the the gaunts they have as well. The sword and board disc shamans, the Zangors. Sorry, I was for some whatever reason the word Zench just kept popping into my head, but that was because we were talking about demons earlier. But yeah, the Zangors are pretty melee heavy as well, but you just don't get the benefit of taking them out with a Rubic Marine execution. So when it comes to Chaos, I definitely think the Chaos spawn that we're going to get soon is going to help that out. But, I mean, as far as Tyranids go, I would like to definitely see Tyranids get updated as well. I mean, what? We have 12 operations that we were able to see leaked. It is perhaps a chance we see an operation for Tyranids that are maybe gargoyle-centered, or maybe there's a gargoyle element. That would be kind of sick. Gargoyles would be an annoying thing, hordes of them, and they just fly. If you don't have a heavy or a melee player or a sniper, you'd be cooked trying to take them down. Unless you want them, like in the campaign, sticking to poles and you have to clear them out. Interesting. There's actually a fair amount of people who think gargoyles would be incredibly annoying. Also, there's clearly some people making jokes about removing biovores. But no, I think biovores are ultimately fine. It's just, if they catch you slipping, it's game over. I think biovores snowball quicker than other enemies in the game if you just kind of ignore them for a bit. But yeah, obviously there's going to be, I mean, a Neurothrope technically would be the worst one to just ignore, but obviously you can't really compare biovores and, Terminus enemies. That would be silly, right? We did do that before. We were talking about how scary biovores are, and they're pretty comparable to Terminus enemies considering how often they can stun you. But no, I don't think the gameplay loop would benefit taking them out. But it is kind of, I understand people's points for that. I just, again, for me with Tyranids, it's actually more fun to consider a circumstance where you're not like 100% prepared for, but like you can still play around biovores if you're like, basically if you have some good team synergy, you ping it, everyone like jumps it. That's pretty much what I just did recently. The biovore really had no shot. But then there's also a moment where I was in a game with triple biovore, and yeah, triple biovores can be pretty bad depending on what level you are. Because if you're in a big open spot, big open space where you have a lot to move around, that's fair. But if you get triple biovores in like hallways, that's extremely dangerous. So at one point I don't want them to take out biovores, but on the other hand, I understand why people are making the joke, because yes, they are very frustrating. As far as gargoyles go, I'm actually kind of surprised. There's actually a fair amount of people who think gargoyles are like going to be just as annoying, which is kind of crazy. If you don't have a heavy or a melee player, I don't know what they mean by that. Why would the melee player be in my case, or at least how I think of it, it's like melee players would be in a disadvantage against gargoyles, but obviously like a sniper and heavy tactical, that should be fine, right? But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have any good ideas of a enemy that can improve the gameplay loop of the game, obviously. And if we can see, obviously, I think everyone really likes to see gargoyles and stuff. But, like, we have new enemies coming down the line, so we've all seen that before. We've seen the leaks for a potential beast-like thing, but I'm not 100% sure. See, here's the thing. With the Chaos leak so far as I know, the only one that's confirmed to be, like, added into the game would be the Chaos spawn, right? But, like, that's a Majoris, and I'm pretty sure the other Chaos enemy was a leaked Extremis enemy. So I'm not 100% sure if they even have a Terminus Chaos in the works. So definitely let me know if you have any good ideas for a Terminus enemy for Chaos. It would be kind of cool to see what you guys come up with. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.